Before we start this lovely podcast, I just want to talk about our sponsors. Our first sponsor, go to invertedgear.com, type in the coupon code ShowtheART15, and save yourself 15% off all of their jiu-jitsu gear. That's gis, rash guards, shorts, a whole bunch of stuff. We have our Show the Art gis on there, and we'll be coming out with a lot more gear with them. So check it out. Go to invertedgear.com, type in the coupon code ShowtheART15, save yourself some money. Our next sponsor is Chimera Coffee. It's coffee infused with nootropics, and it'll basically help you focus and listen and think better. Go to Chimera Coffee, both with a K.com. Type in the coupon code ShowtheART, and you should save some good money on all their products. It's coffee that comes straight from Dominican Republic. It's great tasting stuff. It's got like a chocolatey taste, and you can brew it with any home coffee brewer. So chimeracoffee.com, coupon code ShowtheART. Save yourself some moolah. Our next sponsor is none other than ModCup. Go to modcup.com, MODCUP, type in the coupon code ShowtheART, and you can save yourself good money on all their coffee. ModCup is local in New Jersey. They sell the freshest coffee you can find from places like Yemen, Africa, Yirgacheffe coffee, all these fancy words I don't even remember how to say. I don't even remember the towns and the countries they're from, but they serve the 1% of coffee. Look up what the 1% of coffee is. It's the least amount of damage done, the best flavor profiles. And that's what they sell, and that's what they serve. They only sell it within a 2-week period from the roast date. Anything after that, they claim is not fresh, and you could taste the difference. So head on over to ModCup. I recommend trying any one of their coffees. The Humble Jefferson blend is great for your home. Try their Cascara chocolate. It's chocolate blended with the shell of the coffee bean, which is kind of fruity. It's a great chocolate, great tasting. You can get all that at modcup.com. Type in the coupon code ShowtheART. If any of those coupon codes don't work for whatever reason, just hit us up on social media, Instagram, at ShowtheARTX, or at ShowtheART Podcast, or our Facebook, ShowtheART, and we'll take care of you 100%. Our last sponsor is Datsusara. Go to datsusara.com. Actually, it's dsgear.com. And support them. They sell hemp bags made out of hemp. It's very, what's the word I'm looking for? It lasts very long, and they don't stink after you use them. They're very good for everything. So go to hemp. I know I'm doing a terrible job selling these bags, but go to Datsusara, dsgear.com, and buy yourself some awesome gear bags. I have 3 of them. I love them all. Can't get enough of them. Datsusara Chris, what's going on, my brother?
Not much, Abe. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm glad we finally got this thing up and running. What's going on? How's life? I know you made a big move. You moved from where? Portland to California?
Yeah, well, I mean, I grew up in California. I was there most of my life, and then the last 4 years or so, we were up in Portland just for a little change of scenery. And although I did love it, I've gotten to a point in my life where we're being closer to family, which for me is really just more or less my mom, is a big deal because I have a 4-year-old daughter, and I kind of wanted her to be able to spend time with her grandma, which I didn't really have grandparents growing up, so to me it was important. And so we moved back down to California, and truth be told too, the winters in Portland were getting to me. I'm too spoiled on quote unquote good weather, and so it was a bit much. I miss my Portland people though. Such a great I don't know, especially the jiu-jitsu gang up there. I mean,
right.
It's a great scene for jiu-jitsu up there, and there's just so many really good people. I think I have more friends there than probably anywhere else on the planet. But
and I heard Portland's a great city, man.
It is. I mean, as far as what, the food, and the way that the city is in general, I would say that as excuse me,
right,
especially American cities go, it's nice because it doesn't feel like a big city, even when you're
Mm-hmm.
right in the thick of it. For the most part, it's not too overly developed. There's still a lot of trees, and it's just kind of, and it has a real nice feel that way.
Right.
My only other complaint with it is it's kind of been taken over by ultra leftist politics that are just making things kind of ugly, and it's turning into a little ground. And I don't need I don't need to be with battles between Antifa and the Proud Boys every time I go downtown. So
Right.
I could do without it. I also just, the older I get to, the more I don't like any city, and that one's the most tolerable of any city I can think of as far as just the feeling comfortable, being able to find parking, not being too smashed together. But
Right.
but I just I'm not a big fan of densely populated areas anymore. It's too much for me. But I do love the things you can find there. Some restaurants especially that I really miss.
Sure. And it's more natural to be in like a smaller community around more nature than anything. Like big cities, it's not the most it's the most human thing in nature, but it's not the most, I don't know, natural thing for humans, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's entirely healthy. I mean, I think it's fine for a little while, and especially when I was younger, it was just very interesting and fascinating to kind of throw yourself into that little social experiment that is a city. But I really like a stronger sense of community. I mean, I'm already kind of a introverted, isolated guy sometimes. So for me, it's nicer when I can go out and when I see people around that maybe there's some familiar faces or these people that really care more about each other because there aren't that many. And it's, I don't know, I find like where I live now is just still really has that very small town community feel. And I don't get, like I would let any random neighbor, practically anybody I run into, watch our daughter for a little while. Like there's along the golf course I play on now, there's some people that we met that just happen to have a home right next to it. And one day my kid keeps seeing them and talking to them and going, oh, hey, because they have little kids too. And one day they're just like, hey, if you want to just hang out, she can just come hang out right now. And, in a lot of places that would sketch me out. And I'd go, I don't know these people and who knows them and whatever. But it's such a small community here and everybody knows each other. And there's just such a sense of decency and watching out for each other. It just feels very old fashioned. And, we let her just hang out. We're like, okay, fine. Yeah, sure. Go hang out. No problem. Like just stick her over
that's
the
how it
fence
used to be, right?
She'd hang out and I don't stress on it. So I like that a lot of smaller communities too.
Yeah, that's how it used to be. I remember growing up, more people knew each other. I grew up in Jersey City in New Jersey, and it's kind of a populated city. And I lived on, like in Jersey City, there's so many different areas, right? There's kind of projecty areas. Now there's like the gentrified downtown by the water area. Then there's areas where it's all buildings. Then there's areas all homes. We lived in an area that was kind of a mix of the homes. Some blocks were all homes. Some blocks were all buildings. And on our block, I feel like most of us knew each other. So you walk down the block, your parents didn't really worry. They knew eyes were looking. And I'm about to be 29 years old. I'm not old by any stretch of the imagination, but that's how different we've gotten away from that. And I don't know what that is. Is that the sensitivity that people have towards everybody, or is that all the major shootings? I don't know. What is that?
It is odd. I mean, there's just a sense of people just not trusting each other anymore, and everybody kind of, I don't know. There's definitely a lot of hate and fear being stirred up quite often, which is strange because it's kind of like the safest time ever, but people are a little more freaked out than I'd say they were back when you were a kid. Certainly when I was a kid. I mean, when I was young, it was no big deal. We all, from the time of, I think, 4th grade on, maybe even 3rd grade, I mean, I would either walk or ride my bike to school, and there were no cell phones, we just did that. And in the afternoons or whatever, I'd hang out with my friends. We'd go play in the creek or whatever and just walk around, and we all knew that, okay, there's other neighbors around and people were going to, help out if you needed it. And you were relatively safe. But people are really kind of freaked out now. And, there's a lot of elements to blame for that, but it really is. It's unfortunate. I don't like seeing it. It's nice to live in a place where I feel like I step back, at least in that way, a handful of years to kind of get back to some sanity and not stress on everything so much and distrust everybody so much.
Right. Yeah, my ideal living situation, if I can choose to, which is maybe very hard to find, but it's like live kind of where the homes are like, a little far away from each other, like half a
Close
block
friends.
away from each other, not that far,
Yeah.
but you're surrounded by nature. But I could drive 20 minutes to a big city. That's my ideal situation.
Yeah, that's a really nice thing to have. I'm close to that now. I've definitely, when I used to live up in the Santa Cruz Mountains, up in the redwoods, and that was
Ooh,
pretty awesome. I mean, there's a lot of things about the Bay Area I don't like anymore, but it was really ideal in a lot of ways. 'Cause
yeah.
it was quiet, lots of nature, and just beautiful, small community, and just really great place. But if you wanted to get over to, say, San Francisco or whatever, it was a little bit, you need to get to San Jose in 40 minutes or something.
Right.
But it's tough to find those communities that are really close to cities. Here I've got, we're, I don't know, 40 minutes from Santa Barbara, which is not a huge city, but it's a bigger city, and then an hour and a half or, well, maybe 2 hours from LA or something. So
Okay.
if you really need that, it's close. But the other good thing is that even though it's a small community here, there's a lot. There's a lot of like really good restaurants and other things. The things that I would normally go to the city for, I think the only thing we're really lacking here is maybe a comedy club.
Ooh.
But yeah, I know what you're saying though, because I feel like people want some of the great things and culture and different things that you can find in a city, but not to have to live in the thick of that and to have a more natural, more spacious environment that feels a little more, I don't know, a little more comfortable and more in touch with your natural surroundings would certainly be nice. I wonder sometimes if in the future we're going to see more of that, people finding a way to accomplish that. Without doing total urban sprawl, but or whatever you call it, sprawl in general. But there's got to be a way to live a little bit more like that and still have all those great things. And we'll see. And the internet certainly helps. I mean, now at least you can live out in the middle of nowhere and you can still have a job that isn't connected necessarily to that place. And that's the reason I can live kind of wherever I want, because where the laptop is, I'm good. So I can go live in a tiny little community because I'm not worried about, oh no, is there a job there for me necessarily?
Sure.
So yeah, and hey, and Amazon delivers everywhere, so
There you go.
It does help a little bit. There are more options these days.
Right. Now let's go into who you are. For those of you who don't know who Chris is, Chris Odell, you're the owner, all of that stuff, owner, founder, the guy who runs the show at Datsusara, which is a hemp gear, mainly you sell bags company, right?
Yes.
So why hemp? Why did you start with hemp? Why did you choose hemp? What came first, the chicken or the egg? Did you pick hemp and then wanted to start this company, or did you want to start a company and then picked hemp?
It was actually it was kind of a marriage of a few things. I was doing, my old career was running a video productions company, and it was driving me crazy. As much as I used to love it, it was just becoming terrible, and I knew there was no real future in it long term. And so I thought, God, what can I do? What can I provide for the world that would be useful and something that maybe no one else is doing, or I could do better. And so I sat around. I was staring one day at my gym bag for when I was doing mixed martial arts and everything. And I thought, God, this is just some repurposed sort of generic gym bag that doesn't have the right pockets. It doesn't function well because you throw sweaty gear into some plastic bag and it just turns into a science experiment. It's really really nasty, really quick. And I thought, God, there's got to be a better fiber for this. Plus, it's not exactly a great, sustainable, environmentally friendly thing to be running around with, and so I thought, okay, well, what can I do to make this better? And I thought, okay, and I had my old love of hemp came to mind because I used to be quite the pothead, and hence looked into hemp a lot. And even though I wasn't smoking so much weed anymore, I always appreciated the things that hemp was good at, and I thought it was very underutilized. Mostly just people building a bunch of real hippie marketed gear stuff that just, I don't know, just wasn't great. Was never going to get to people in the mainstream. And I realized, wow, what if you took a hemp canvas and made a bag with it? It would probably be breathable, maybe get the antimicrobial thing in there, and it's, environmentally friendly and should be pretty damn strong. Maybe not as strong as like a full Cordura, military level synthetic, but it's going to be pretty good.
Right. Better than cotton, at least.
So I just thought, well, what the heck? Let's try it all. These days, and I mean, you can look up manufacturers online. Thanks to reading, Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week, I had some ideas of how to start a company and how to go find manufacturers and that sort of thing. So just found somebody who was willing to take a chance and make 100 bags. Took all the savings I had in the world, which was, very little, and had those made up. And then we just kept turning it over and adding new products as I could afford it. Just never taken out any loans or anything like that. Don't have a big staff even to this day. We're not a giant company like a lot of people assume. It's really mostly myself, my wife, and some contractors helping out. Benjamin Charles, Joe Henry, but just a few people really. So yeah, but it's become, it's a big company, I guess, in some ways, and we're still here 10 years later. So that's good.
Right. And, a lot of companies fail, especially when people start off with just an idea, right? What is the statistic? Like most companies fail within the first year of being open.
I think it's something like that.
What do you attest? Because I'm always looking to see what makes businesses run and be successful. I'm a part of a martial arts school. I like to think that I'm a big role, even though I'm not the owner or manager or CEO. But I help out where I can. So, what do you think is key for like maintaining success and constantly growing? Because if you're not growing, you're failing. That's usually how it is in business. So what do you think is some of your values that kind of helped you grow and maintain growth?
Well, for me, one of the main things, and I don't know, I've always had this sort of this way about me, and I didn't, I started from a strong foundation in that I didn't set myself up to fail by taking out big loans and biting off more than I could chew when I started. Now that's the way I think most people start businesses. They go, what, I've got this great idea and I'm just gonna, I'm gonna put a second mortgage on my house or whatever, go get a big business loan, and it's gonna either happen or it won't. And to me, that's a risky proposal and not something that I wanted to do. I don't like debt. I don't like risking everything that way without testing the waters first. So in my case, the first 4 years, I wasn't even doing Datsusara full time. I mean, I didn't have any debt. I took all the profits that I was making from the sales, turned them back over into the company again and again and again to kind of keep building things up. And then when I realized, okay, maybe if I focused harder on this, and just took a little bit of the profits, then I could do this full time and things would be better. It'd be better for the growth of the company, which it was. And I probably could have done it a little sooner than I did, but I think it was a good, smooth transition to be safe. And even to this day, I mean, there are months and years that we do better or worse. But I'm never worried that, oh no, the whole company's going to fall apart, because I'm never in the red. I'm not in debt or risking too much. Now there may come a point where I'm going to say, you know what, we got to take a chance. We're going to either expand this sucker and go big, or we're just, I'm going to cash out and let it go. That's possible, but it's not my style, and certainly seeing a lot of companies come and go. I'm kind of glad I haven't gone that way. So I like a slow, steady, stable growth. That's far preferable to me than taking big leaps and bounds and taking huge risks. And the other thing with the growth thing, it's always interesting, and it's a question that I've asked some pretty big business leaders and things about. Well, is there a point where maybe you have grown enough and you just want to maintain that? Is that a thing? Now, most people have always told me, well, yeah, if you're not growing, you're dying, kind of thing. And there may be something to that. However, I do wonder, because you look at anything in nature, and there's a certain point where you just can't get any bigger without failing or without being very vulnerable. And so to me, if I top off at, $1 million in sales, and that's just the way it's going to be without risking more, but I can maintain that, I'm okay with that. Ideally, I'd like to see it keep growing and growing, but it can't be infinite. Nothing really can be. Right. So I'm not so sure I try not to get too caught up in pursuing constantly or worrying about it. I think as long as I feel like we're doing good things and maybe improving our products, let's say, or improving our service, whatever. I think to me, it's more about maybe improvement than necessarily growth. So I'd rather even shrink and do things better than be huge, but kind of start, cutting corners or not, not living up to our customer service, ideals and things like that.
Right. And, I guess my next question was, and you probably answered it already, why do you market towards jiu-jitsu and the grappling community? But I think it goes hand in hand with what we were just saying too, with you growing or any company growing. Maybe the thing for you to grow, to expand past that cap, is to change, is to go somewhere else, and that might be to advertising to different people, right? If you only advertise towards, the jiu-jitsu market, but you sell a product that the CrossFit market can use or whatever, that's where the change comes in. That's where you might be able to break through that cap. But going back to jiu-jitsu, why jiu-jitsu? And I guess why jiu-jitsu?
Yes, we should stay on that, because I know anybody who listens to jiu-jitsu oriented podcasts, they go nuts when you don't get into it enough. So
right.
I know half my listeners on my podcast are dying because the last 4 or 5 episodes I haven't had anybody on to talk about jiu-jitsu. So, but yeah. So for me, jiu-jitsu. Well, when I started doing, basically jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts in general kind of were really instrumental in bringing me out of kind of a funky space in my life, where I was, feeling a little lost, having terrible anxiety, didn't know what to do with my life, just wasn't feeling physically well, all of the above. And so to me, it was a really important thing. And I really wanted to kind of not only serve that community and give back to it, but it was also just my main interest at the time. And It definitely went more from the MMA and stand-up stuff, included, to just being more jiu-jitsu, because that's where I ended up spending most of my time after the first couple of years of my training.
Right.
And it became the most interesting part of it to me. Also, as far as sponsoring events and things like that, I think that's just where I ended up, because that was where my friends were and my interests for sure. We did have a fair amount of interest from CrossFit people, especially for a short time when we were just getting some posts on a particular message board, and all of a sudden they were paying attention to us. And I played around with it too. I went in and did some sessions with some CrossFit. It just wasn't quite my thing, but but I appreciate what people are trying to do behind it, just trying to get really fit and everything, and I think that's great.
Sure.
So yes, things like that, you're right, like transitioning to other markets and being more available, definitely a good thing. I don't do a lot of advertising in general. Really only dabbled with it a few times, except for sponsoring podcasts and some events. Other than that, we don't run a whole lot of ads, at least not yet. But yeah, that's definitely a space. There's some new spaces, and like right now, I've suddenly become completely obsessed with golf. So there will be a lot of things going on with golf soon. I'm even trying to get some of my jiu-jitsu buddies to get into it or something. I'm like, I need some company out here for people that aren't douchebags. So so things will change, and it's weird too. I think when you have a company that, it's like having a tattoo or something, 10 years later, you might be a different person and into different things. And you've got kind of the same like, I wish I could change the name of the company. I really like it still, but there's more, I don't know. I wish I could have thought of something a little bit more long lasting. It's like a tattoo, but
like company names I've always been obsessed with, because like you want to pick a name that's cool. It's not too cliche, has meaning, maybe inspires people, but also transcends what you're doing, right? I want to create a company name that maybe, like you said, 10 years from now, if my company name is related to jiu-jitsu, but I become obsessed with golf, I can't use that same name anymore.
Right.
So that's the hard part, right?
That is tough, and it's at least, you picked a good name with the ShowtheART thing. I think that's really, you could go anywhere with that. Although it's hard when you develop out, and you become known for a specific thing. Or like some people would go, "Oh, you guys are a fight gear company." I'm like, well, I never quite meant for it to be cornered into that. I'm like, yes, that is my main interest, and we do make a lot of things for that. But even when I started, I always thought, well, eventually we want to get these out to anybody that can use them, anybody
Right.
that can use these bags or this clothing or whatever. So it's tough because you want to have that focus and support, from a core group for sure. That's really important. But at the same time, you don't want to alienate other people. Like I don't want, like my stepfather had jumped onto my website at one point with, oh, well, I don't know if I'd want any of the stuff. This is just for fighters. And I'm like, well, no, it's not. I mean, a backpack's a backpack. It doesn't matter. He's a surfer or whatever, which he is. You should still be accessible. So
Right.
yeah, it's tricky. Yeah, and names can stick with you too and throw people off.
Right. And the way you market yourself, the way you advertise. I bet if you made like 5 different websites, and like one was like the whole background was, it looked like it was for surfers, same exact bag, same exact products, but like it was all surfer oriented website, and then another website just like yours, and then another website that looked like it was just for golf or just for yoga. Like I bet that would change things for people too. They might see your website and say, oh, well, it's kind of dark looking, it's kind of like fight-esque, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. It's cool. It's got that feel to it. But that's why they think it's for fighters. Whereas if you put it on a different website, if Macy's sold it, people would probably just buy it just because it's a bag on the shelf.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I've been trying for years to keep changing our website just bit by bit to be a little bit more accessible without losing our core people. I mean, I think most people that know us from the jiu-jitsu scene and everything, they know about us. They're not going to disappear if suddenly it's just kind of a slightly more generic looking site in some ways. But it's tough though. I mean, part of me wants to sit there, and if I wasn't so lazy with the website programming, probably work out like different landing pages for all the different sports or whatever, that kind of thing. Or if I had a lot of money, I'd probably develop different product lines focusing more on different things. But then again, there's some stuff where you just go, do we need 5 different backpacks, for every sport? Is it really that important, or can we make a pocket that works for, ultimate Frisbee players as well as jiu-jitsu guys or whatever? And to an extent, I think you can get carried away with over specialization, but yeah, it's tough. And yeah, if all of a sudden I start popping up golf stuff on the site, but then, or a golfer shows up and goes, oh, okay, they've got some golf stuff, and they see all this other crap, and they're like, I don't know, maybe this isn't a golf company. It is odd how people kind of need that sort of, that feeling to be a certain way to consider something. So it's that I'm trying to find examples of companies that have sort of, transcended that and found
But I see what you're saying though. Like my friend asked me about he saw my post about your bags, or he saw my bag probably, and he was like, that's an awesome backpack. He doesn't do jiu-jitsu, isn't really a fan of martial arts, but he's a fan of cool things and functional things, quality things, and he thought it was all of those things, and he was like, how can I get one, or where can I get one from, or what's the deal? So he didn't care that it was, I sent him to the website. He was like, cool. He didn't care where it came from. I think he cared just about the look and the functionality of it. So I think you did achieve that. You achieved being able to transcend with the function and the quality and not so much the theme, I guess.
That's great to hear. I mean, I need more people like that. And I think definitely that is where I'm trying to continue to market to. It's in any way that I can, just to, even if it's just in the look of the site and whatnot, is to
like the
look for those
person.
kind of people. They just want a thing of quality that works well, and doesn't really matter the rest so much.
Right. The funny thing is, like your bags are so functional. Like I have the medium size backpack. And I have the medium-sized duffel bag. it might be the small size duffel bag. And I never know which one to use. So I just kind of go like 1 month using this bag. They carry, like the backpack carries so much. It almost carries as much as the duffel bag. And it's just a preference at this point. It really doesn't matter to me which one I take to the gym to and from, jiu-jitsu class with my rash guards and my protein powders and all that crap. So it's funny because they're 2 different shapes, but they have very similar functionalities, which is like really good to have.
Yeah, yeah, I like that too. I tend to do the same thing. It kind of depends, even if I'm just going on a road trip or whatnot. It depend, sometimes I'll pack the backpack. Sometimes grab the gear bags or the duffel bags. It's just kind of depends upon how I feel like organizing things that day. But yeah, I try to make everything should be in some ways equally functional, and then just a matter of how much space you really need.
Sure, sure, sure.
Yeah, yeah, I like that a
Yeah.
lot.
What do you do about and this probably goes for a lot of businesses, whether it's local or big companies, about infringement, about people kind
Mm.
of copying you or kind of taking your idea. And we've all gone through this. I know you've gone through this
Oh
somewhat,
yeah.
and you don't have to point anybody out or anything, but or you can. But I've
Be happy
experienced it
to.
myself. I know they say imitation is the greatest form of
Since
flattery,
yeah,
but it doesn't feel like flattering. It doesn't feel
no,
good when it
it
happens.
doesn't.
Plagiarism. So, like, how do you deal with it? What is the best course of action? I know a smile can only get you so far. What do you do?
Yeah, yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I have had this problem multiple times. Luckily, these people tend to disappear because people, I don't know, will notice that they're just inauthentic, or they make other poor business decisions beyond that, because that just shows a character flaw in general, and
Right.
then they fail and go away. But I have had to out some people. I mean, originally a few times I've had people damn near copy our bag design completely. There's a bag that's popular in the CrossFit scene called Kong bags. They actually poached our manufacturer and then
Oh,
proceeded to make a bag that was almost identical as to ours. It wasn't made out of hemp. It was made out of
right.
synthetics. And even when I emailed them about it, they were kind of like, "Well, tough shit. You can't really do anything about it, and
Mm,
whatever. We'll stop saying that we designed it, because they used to say, "Oh, this is our special bag that we designed just for CrossFit." And I'm going, what the fuck? Like, this is exactly the same dimensions. You're using my manufacturer. Don't
wow.
don't bullshit. And actually, they're really big. I'm amazed how far they got, because
Wow.
they are they must be marketing geniuses. Because yeah, I don't know. Their bag looks like shit if you ask me.
You're gonna have to
But
text me the name later.
anyhow, what's that?
I said you're gonna have to text me the name later.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it does. I'll tell you, it's Kong,
Oh,
Kong.
that's
Yeah,
the
that's
name of. Okay, I thought that was the
yep.
name of the
Nope.
specific bag.
That
Okay.
is the name of the bag. Yeah, and their logo looks stupid. They've improved over the years, but I don't know. I was
Yeah.
very unimpressed with their
I've
stuff.
literally
But
never heard of them, but I'm not
mhm.
into CrossFit scene, so I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, who knows? And I mean, I think to me, it's crazy. Like, if someone saw our bag for CrossFit versus theirs, I don't. It seems like such a simple choice. And I'm sure if I marketed harder towards that scene, maybe we could take a real dent out of that and show them, get rid of them pretty quick.
Right.
But like in jujitsu, that's happened too. I mean,
Yeah.
there've been people who've copied a lot of stuff. Obviously, there were also people who just made, let's say, hemp gis. Now, those were not
Mm.
copies necessarily, but you had a submission fight company that, for years was saying, oh, they were the first people to make a hemp gi, which they clearly were not. They knew they weren't. And they weren't. And not only that, but I warned them multiple times that I didn't think their hemp was real hemp, because I knew what they were paying. I knew where they were getting it from.
Right.
And there was no way. And they, oops, excuse me. That's funny. That's Phil Schwartz calling Mr. Phil from 10th Planet Portland.
Nice.
Anyway,
Awesome guy. Great jujitsu. Phil Schwartz.
love that
Shout
guy.
out to that guy.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's gonna have to wait.
Sorry, Phil.
Yeah, so and then turns out they were selling, fake gis, and didn't do the late. And now, whether or not they were deceived and just, blissfully ignorant while they were raking in sales from their hyped up supposed hemp gis, I don't know.
Mm.
Or if they were clearly knew they weren't doing the right thing and just, forged ahead anyway. I'm not sure, but I had to kind of out them
Yeah.
on social media, and then eventually, that led, and then they didn't handle it well, and they've kind of fallen apart.
Mm.
I've had people even recently, it's, Hypnotic did a really stupid thing where we used to work with them. It's basically the MMA warehouse guys, and they're
Right.
nice guys. I'm sure, and my dealings with them were primarily very positive when they were just selling our bags. Essentially, we were giving them a retailer's deal, and they would sell them through their website. And eventually, I had to cut them off because I said, "Look, it just doesn't make sense. I'm kind of cannibalizing my own sales. People want to buy it from us. They can, if they're in the U.S., they can just buy it from us. They don't need to go to you guys."
Right.
And so we kind of parted ways. And they said, "Well, just so you know, we will probably make our own bags." And I went, "Yeah, that's fine." I even gave them a manufacturer. But just to be nice, I'm going, they're going to find somebody anyway. That's fine. I'll help them out. And but then when they came out with some bags, they went ahead and made hemp bags and some of them with our exact same designs. And because they're using the manufacturer, one of them that I gave them, so we had the designs. But I wouldn't have thought they would have ever done that. I mean, and then when I contacted them, they acted like, oh, gee, I didn't think that'd be a problem. I'm like, what do you think? Really? You didn't think that'd be a problem? You didn't think that would piss me off or be really shitty and rude to just, why would I, if I was okay with them doing that, why would I stop selling them the bags in the first place? Exactly. It makes zero sense. So, there's stuff like that. And, they even had a gi that came out recently that had a symbol that looks damn near identical to ours on it and could probably confuse
I did notice that. I did notice that.
Yeah, that was really rude too. And I'm going, what do you like? Someone's not paying attention. Like either they're intentionally being pricks or someone's just not paying attention, and it sucks. I don't like it. Yeah, it's if someone wanted to come out with a hemp bag tomorrow and do their own design or whatever, that's fine. I mean, I've always expected that's going to happen eventually. But yeah, to copy completely is a bummer. I mean, but I will say, like, if you're a small company and you're just starting off, I can see a little easier how it happens. Maybe because I definitely borrowed some design elements when we were starting off making backpacks that I wish I wouldn't have. I like 511 gear a lot, and we took, I'd say, a good chunk of their basic size dimensions and some of the pockets. Definitely borrowed some of that design to make our backpacks. Now we were doing a different material, and really their bags are copies of other bags in a lot of ways too. So
I mean, there's only so many different ways you can make a bag. So
so there's definitely that. And if you're not, I wasn't trying to bite into their market or copy them outright. But I definitely, looking back, I go, I probably should have tried a little harder. I mean, we've done stupid things now to differentiate. It was like, okay, make that pocket an inch lower over here just so it doesn't look just like theirs. But it is tough. So I get it sometimes when you're looking at things and like if someone copies us a little bit because, it just what makes sense, that's fine. But yeah, when you're just outright trying to rip someone off and then get into their market and come at their people, that's just crappy.
Right.
That's just behavior.
Like there's a fine line between being inspired by somebody's work and like that's how your style is molded, right? Our styles are molded from what we're fans of, and it's an amalgamation of all that. So that's one thing, but to copy completely is a whole nother story. And also, at least don't copy me if you're in the same market. Like if you're selling to some other completely different group, it doesn't really affect me anyway. It sucks, but like, all right, at least it's not effing with me. But you're marketing the same damn people, and we were friends. What the hell?
Yeah, that's when it hurts the most. I'm like, okay, with some stranger who's just kind of being a prick or whatever, that's fine. But like, man, it's the worst when it's someone or some people that you've worked with and trusted, and then they turn around and do that. And you're just going, why? What did I do? Like, come on. I mean, but the good thing is that I think the best you can do is just be honest about it and talk about it, let people know the situation, and people generally make good decisions then, and these things sort themselves out. And if you just keep on doing what you're doing and do it better, have better customer service or make a better product or whatever, or just be a more decent person to deal with.
Sure.
People will generally favor you, and you'll be there at the the end of the year, and other people will fall apart. Sooner or later.
People think just because you don't copy the whole thing. It's still copying, especially if you're in the same industry. It can't sound the same, it can't look the same. It can't trigger the same points. That makes it different. If it doesn't sound the same, if it doesn't look the same, if it triggers something different in people's brains, that's what makes it different. I love the company Fight to Win. They do a great job with events, and we don't really put on those kinds of events. But they started coming out with something as simple as the hashtag #ShowtheART, and it's like, we're like, what are you guys doing?
That's kind of rude. Like, obviously they know what they're doing there. And that's not cool.
It was kind of weird. It was like, what are you guys doing? And the funny thing is, we got a lot of people thinking that we were them just from that hashtag, or we were associated, which is not a bad thing because you're getting I guess, publicity from that. But it was just, it's like you said, it's kind of rude. It's like, just because, like, if I started a sneaker company and then I use the tagline, just get it, you know, that's, I can't do that. That's Nike's thing. You know, just do it is different than just get it, but just do it and just get it are close enough. You know?
Yeah.
So it's, right.
Yeah. I mean, it creates confusion and it muddies the waters, and it you know, that happened a little bit with the Hypnotic thing. People saw that gi, and that's why I immediately came out and told people what was going on, because I knew that every time someone saw that, if I didn't say something, they were going to go, oh, I guess Datsusara's making this gi. That's cool. Well, we trust Datsusara, so we'll trust these guys and buy this gi. And it's like, hey, you're kind of, you know, that's where you're getting into some ugly territory, and it's really not cool.
Right.
So,
and you're not saying don't buy somebody's stuff. You know, calling somebody out on a mistake they might have made doesn't, you know, if you cheat once, that doesn't make you a cheater. You know, if you steal once, that doesn't make you a thief. So, you know, somebody is, it's okay if they mess up a little bit. I'm not saying not to support anybody like that. You know, I'm sure you're not saying don't support Hypnotic because they effed up once or twice.
Yeah. When I am at some point, because when it becomes a pattern, and the problem I've had with, the only thing I've really had a problem with their brand from the beginning, but I would have never said anything about it if they had not had done these things, is just that it's another jiu-jitsu company that to me doesn't have much of a story or a real passion. I think they just saw, you know, dollar signs in that realm and decided to try to, and basically the only reason anybody really likes them is because they marketed the piss out of it and sponsored a bunch of people. But, you know, I mean, that's fine. Like I said, I wouldn't have said anything had they had not, you know, kind of bitten off of my experience, goodwill in the community by faking some things or copying things. That's where it kind of, then I'm going, all right, no, screw them, don't buy things from them. But I'm trying to be cool about it. Like I said, they were friends, and who knows, maybe they just made a couple of bad mistakes, but it does show character flaws. It shows you know, poor judgment, and there's only so much of that before you can say, look, don't deal with these people. You know, it's I don't know, but that happens a lot in the jiu-jitsu world. I mean, you see trends come around, and you know, like when Nawaza first came around, they'd have a design and 5 other people would copy it, or you know, it's hard to watch sometimes. I don't like it. The whole scene like that can really get on my nerves sometimes.
It's funny because a lot of the stuff that these guys Hypnotic are putting out, I like their stuff. It looks cool. I'm not into like the whole funky, like put everything on a rash guard, everything on spats or shorts and sell it. I'm not into that. I'm more into like the clean look, but regardless, it still looks cool. Nuwaza was kind of the first ones to really do that, right? To put like, you know, a galaxy on a rash guard, or all these fun colors and creative things. So it's like every time I see a company do that after, I'm like, oh, they copied Nuwaza. But I guess that's not necessarily the truth. It's just styles. Like how many times the galaxy is there, you know, the stars are there. Anybody can draw inspiration from it, and it's just unfortunate. I guess the first person always ruins it for the rest of them.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, there's some levels just inspired, and everybody should be able to go ahead and you know, be okay with that. Like I said, inspiration's one thing, but yeah, like it reminds me of when I feel like when there was, it seemed like, remember Pixar and DreamWorks, they kept it was like Pixar would come out with a themed movie, and then what do you know, DreamWorks had one almost just like it, and then it kept happening. I'm like, first time that happens, you go, well, maybe it's just a thing right now in the conscious. Everybody wants a movie about, you know, sharks or fishes or something, and it would happen 2 or 3 times, and you're going, okay, what the fuck, like, why? So yeah, I don't know. It can be a bit of a fine line sometimes, and it's just, I don't know. To me, I try to look and see, well, you know, is the brand, whoever it is, are they really making these things because they care about it and they feel what they're doing means something and has some sort of purpose, then fine, you know, whether or not it's similar to someone else's. But if it looks like they're just saying, oh, they're just kind of like another me too, like, hey, I have one of these too, and oh, that's trendy, let's do one of those designs. Those kind of companies, I don't know. They come up every day. There's some new jiu-jitsu company and they're pulling that crap. And to me, it's, why do you even bother starting your business if that's what you're going to do? And I just don't buy from people like that. But
and that's been the fine line with me and my partner. You know, we always wanted to put out T-shirts and rash guards and a whole line of things like that, and it becomes increasingly hard and increasingly draining of motivation when we see the saturation in that industry, and it results in us not wanting to make any of those things and us not making any of those things. Because it's like, well, I'm not going to keep, pissing in the same pool as everybody else. It's just, right. For lack of better terms, it feels it's too saturated, I guess. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, that can get frustrating sometimes when you see that. It is a little disheartening. So, I try to avoid that. It's always a temptation, even just the whole T-shirt world. I mean, one of these days it'd be fun to have a bunch of different T-shirt designs, but as you might have noticed, I rarely bother. I mean, now we have a few, but that was took me years to bother even with that. I'm more obsessed with making a T-shirt that lasts as long as it can than I am with having 50 different designs.
Right. I wear your T-shirt all the time. Fits perfectly. Fits great.
Thank you.
Doesn't smell.
Doesn't stink so bad yet. We're working on getting some more. Finally, it has been a little while, but it was never something I wanted to build the whole company around. I just think there are better problems to solve.
Sure. Have you ever seen the documentary Mask? It's pretty new, but it was on the guy who started Tap Out.
Interesting.
Remember that gentleman?
No, I haven't. Yes, I do. I have not seen it yet, though.
Really, really excellent documentary. The guy who filmed it and produced it, he was actually filming it years while Charles, what's his name? Charles Lewis, I think, was alive, and he had planned for years to release it, but it just kept getting held off, and he didn't think it was the right time. So he had all this footage, and then when he passed away a few years ago, it kind of respawned his desire to make this documentary. Anyway, there's a lot of footage in there that talks about his personal life, which is very interesting, but there's a lot of footage that talks about the growth of his company and how he pretty much single-handedly changed the T-shirt making industry in the whole MMA community and everything attached to MMA community, like jiu-jitsu and kickboxing, Muay Thai, whatever you want to call it. He really changed the game, and you could see how he hustled and how he wanted to be creative and how he kind of made connections. And one of the biggest things I got from that was his connections with people. Everybody loved him. He met with a lot of people. He hooked them up with gear. He supported their fighting careers, and he was nothing but nice to people, and everybody loved him. In turn, everybody wanted to support him, whether they were getting, sponsorship from him or not. And, that's when you have a good product.
That's true. It's funny. I used to really not like those guys just because of some of their marketing styles were just so gross to me. Looking back and the more times going on, I go, you know what? They were very authentic in what they did and why they wanted to do it. They seemed to really have their reasons and a purpose, and they did change things quite a bit. I mean, it's really impressive to see what they did. It's unfortunate that it led to kind of where it did, and him getting killed and all that. Just I don't know. So that's a sad thing. But
I definitely wasn't that into their gear as well. I had a few of their MMA shorts. But I never bought a T-shirt or anything like that. It was too much for me as well. But I had a newfound appreciation for the company when I watched that documentary, and you saw it truly was this one gentleman. And then even his accident was just an unfortunate accident. He got bumped from behind in his Ferrari. It just happens. So
I didn't realize that. I thought he was racing or something.
That was the story. But what I heard is that he was at a stop sign or at a red light, and there was a guy that pulled up next to him, and I don't know, for whatever reason, I think the guy tried to race him, but he wasn't trying to race that gentleman, and I think the guy swerved in front of him and clipped him, or swerved from behind him and clipped him, and he just spun out of control. Man. It's pretty crazy.
Such a bummer.
But
yeah.
But it was it was amazing to see the growth of a company, and you saw it in that documentary. That was the best.
Yeah. Well, they definitely. I mean, from everything I've heard, the people who knew them is they were the real deal. I mean, they're running around selling T-shirts out of the back of their van, kind of deal back in the day to a community that didn't really have any brands, speaking for it. So I got to hand them that. I mean, that was really those guys put in the work, and they really, it's amazing what they accomplished. I wish I was, half as motivated as they are to get out there and really hit the streets like that, get to it. I've done what I can, but it's not in my style to run around and be
and hustle that hard.
Comfortable going straight to people and everything. And it's a different landscape now, of course, too, partially because of them. So yeah, things have changed, but yeah, you got to admire them for what they did there, and just for being themselves. They had their thing, and that's what they did. I can't think of any time when I felt like they were copying people necessarily.
For sure. And it's different now, Chris. I mean, comparing now to back then when they were first starting off, the internet wasn't as prevalent as it is now. It's so much easier to get on the internet. Everybody has access to it very easily, very quickly on their cell phones. So that makes it even more important to have a public presence, and even less of a need to go door-to-door salesman, if you will.
Sure. Yeah, the one reason I really go out and do, booths and things like that, which we didn't really barely do that till I met Ben Charles up in Portland, and he kind of encouraged me to get out and do that. I'm glad he did, because once I started doing that, it really, sometimes, I don't know, sometimes when you sit around and you run a company mostly from your computer, and you don't actually get to meet the people very often, other than maybe the guys you see at the gym that well, it can get disheartening, because every time you get a disgruntled customer service email or something like that, even if you solve it, it's never a happy thing, or it's too easy to focus on the negative stuff and not remember why you're doing it, or who the real people are that are enjoying these products and whatnot. So it helps to go out and just at least meet some people here and there, and it always makes me feel so much better. And people come up to me and at an EBI or an Oregon Jiu-Jitsu event or whatever, and they're just saying how much, they love the gear, and what big, fans they are of it, and how much it's helped their lives in some way or another, just something simple like a backpack or whatever, but it's like been such a useful thing for them that they really enjoy, and that they, love what we're doing and all that. Like, God, that makes everything feel so much more worthwhile. In fact, I really need to do that again soon, because I'm back to being kind of isolated out here and not seeing the end users in person, and I think it really helps. It's a danger of running an online business. You can get kind of too isolated. For someone like me who worries about the negative stuff too much, it can be unhealthy.
Yeah, and I bet it's very inspiring and motivating to keep going when you hear something nice from someone who enjoys your product.
It is, and it sometimes it really amazes me, because people would come up to me like I'm some sort of weird, rock star or something. I'm like, oh man, would you mind if I took a picture? Or they apologize for interrupting because at a restaurant and wanted to say hi. You fucking kidding? I'm nobody. Like, please. I try and make me cool in front of my wife, so I appreciate that. So it's I really enjoy it. I love running into people. I was driving through a town on our way here to see Peterson talk.
Hold on, Chris, 1 second. The connection's kind of a little low. I could barely hear you.
Get copy.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Oh, there we go. Yep, I can now. Probably lagged out a little bit.
Yeah, it's still kind of unclear to hear you.
No. All right, hold on. Let me see if I can move this a little. Shoot. Probably not. Okay, how's it going now?
How about I hang up and call back?
Okay, try that.
All right.
Okay, how about now?
Yeah, I can hear you much clearer.
Oh, okay, cool. We still recording?
Yeah, we're still recording.
Okay.
So I'll just cut
So I was going
to
say, I had this experience. I was heading out to Arizona to see Jordan Peterson talk, and me and my wife were out, and we're in the middle of really like nowhere between California and Arizona. And I apologize to whoever lives there. I actually forget the name of the town. Real nice people, though, all over it, but it was just tiny, tiny little town. I ran into some guy who was wearing a Nawaza t-shirt, and I said, oh, hey, nice shirt. And he went, hey, man, do you have any of the J-Rubs on you in the car or anything? Because I really want to get one of those.
Oh, my God.
I had no idea he knew who the fuck I was or the brand or anything else. And I mean, I guess it makes some sense, but it was really neat because I'm out in the middle of a very small place, and to actually run into people who like our gear and are fans of the company. I don't know, that made it, yeah, that stuff like that just makes my day. Hell, that makes my
Right.
year. And it's just so nice. Just all the goodwill from people. And I mean, I'm just a guy just trying to sell them stuff. And yeah, I'm trying to help and I'm trying to inspire with other things and do stuff. But I never know how it's really being received. It's not always clear. And again, like I said, it's very easy to just look at the negative comments and go, oh no, am I really helping the world? Is it going? Then you go out and you meet people, and people are just so nice. And I don't know, it's just it's a great thing to get out there and meet the community members and get some more interaction.
Right. So people out there, a little compliment can go a long way. Just write on Chris's wall, or anybody that you're fans of, really. Just send a little email, not a private message, just like a comment on a picture, and just say how you feel. Again, it goes a long way, especially the heads of these companies that are making these products. They need to know. They need motivation just like you guys, and a lot of times that's the motivation. And like I said, Chris, I'm not saying this just because I know you and because you're on my podcast, obviously, but I've gotten very good responses about people liking your bags. Like I said, my friends like them, and they're not even into martial arts. So that says a lot, especially because a lot of martial arts gear looks like it's martial arts gear,
Right. Yeah. Well, that's great to hear. I mean, and for every, that really helps keep me in perspective. And I love hearing great feedback like that. The things that get to me is sometimes when I drop on to Reddit/BJJ group or something, and every now and then you get someone who just thinks we're some kind of giant company that doesn't give a crap. And they go, oh, those things are just, overpriced. They're just trying to rip you off by marketing jiu-jitsu people. And I have to get in there and go, no, hey, I'm a real person here. I'm doing this because I care and because I want to help people. I didn't just figure out how to charge as much as I could and then market to some group because it would make me money. And in fact, in my case, we actually, our markups are really pretty terrible, and very few people understand that. I actually try to charge as little as I can and still keep things going, which is probably one reason our growth isn't as good as it could be. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm not trying to just cash in on people. I mean, yeah, we want to make a profit. I want to be able to continue to do this as a career and grow the company, but I'm trying to just make sure that I'm paying for my little place here on planet Earth and the things that I enjoy. I just want to make sure I'm giving back in some manner as much as I'm taking, and who knows, in the balance, hopefully that's working out. But yeah, we're, heads of companies and whatever like that, real people generally. And we do, a lot of us do give a fuck. And so yeah, little kind words go a long way. If you appreciate something, let people know. It's a nice thing. I try to do that myself, even with the big stuff. Like I'm a big fan of the Star Wars Clone Wars animated series, and I'm just always trying to post the other day and just figure out who can I post to say thank you so much for all the time and love and energy that you put into this, because some of those are just so damn good. And I go, my God, like these people need to know how much,
Right, so they can keep going and keep providing this stuff, right?
What's that?
I said so that they can keep going and keep providing you with more Clone Wars.
I think it's important. I think a lot of people these days just kind of they absorb and take stuff and just kind of go, oh, that's nice, and move along, and they don't. They've forgotten the human aspect of it, because we're not sitting there buying something from a store keep or directly from a company and meeting those people. And I mean, that's part of why I try to be much of an open book online and be present, even though sometimes it drives me crazy and I just want to quit Facebook and Twitter and stuff. Is that it's good to, I want to let people know that we're real people. I'm doing this for a reason. It's not just I didn't just come up with a cool, slick business plan to make money and cash out or something. It's not what it's about. And I want people to know me and to know who they're supporting and why we're doing it and all that. But to me, it's just really, it's important to bring back that human interaction in all of our transactions. I hate dealing with faceless companies. It's just, it's no fun. And people do that just to keep themselves safe these days and hide from litigation and all these other things. But not my style. I don't like that world. I'm not gonna keep perpetuating that.
Yeah, and we can do a whole nother podcast on all the ins and outs of that world, the political world. I know you're very outspoken about that. All the hashtags these days, hashtag me too, hashtag this, hashtag that, all the hypersensitivity towards words and things we say. That would be a great podcast to do with you.
Oh, for sure. Be happy to do it. I get myself in enough hot water and I shouldn't stop now. So
right, yeah.
I'm trying to keep civility and sensibility and bring people back to a point of thinking for themselves and doing that. But it's so hard to do these days because everybody's very, black and white about it and trying to stir up hate and everything else. And it's just, I don't know, it's an unfortunate scene, but I'm trying to hang in there. So, because I know for every person that, there's a lot of people that don't say anything but really appreciate what you do, and I know that's the same way with the company stuff too. There's a lot of silent majority types that probably really love what you're doing, and you just you don't know it because they're not saying anything out loud. So I try to always keep that in mind, whether it be with the political or company or anything else. Yep.
Right. We're running out of time, but quick question.
Sure.
Before we leave, who are your top 5 grappling competitors out there right now that you love watching, your favorites, in gi, no gi, whatever you want to call it, jiu-jitsu? Boom.
Top 5. Okay. Well, some of this, it's tough to not just pick my buddies because they're the ones who I'm going to watch the most because I care about seeing them doing well. So, I mean, obviously you got your Phil Schwartz and Nathan Orchard. I really love Boogie and Gio. I guess that counts 4 already.
Those are all your guys.
I know, and Grace Gundram's my favorite.
She's awesome.
As a kid, I've tried to sort of sponsor her here and there as much as we can, and so she's just, I don't know, she cracks me up. She, of all people, it's probably really my favorite to watch matches in general, just because always crack me up. This kind of socially awkward, quiet kid that doesn't look terrifying at all, and then she just comes out and just murders people, and it's just I don't know, I like her style, and she really cracks me up. She's a good kid, and she's probably not even much of a kid anymore. I forget how many years are going by.
I think she's 16
I look forward
now?
to her entering the adult competitions, and probably a couple more years, I guess. But hopefully.
So how about your top 5 non-friend jiu-jitsu
non-friend? Okay. Yeah. I like watching Gary Tonin a lot of that whole crew, even though they're kind of against a lot of my buddies. Something about that guy, not only I think is I kind of like his personality, and I think of all of them, I don't know, I find he's not only talented, just an interesting dude. I think he's really creative and just obviously very good too.
Very genuine guy.
Who else do I like that I don't know? That's a tough question. I have not been keeping up lately, to tell you the truth. Even with UFCs and stuff, I used to watch those religiously, and I missed I don't know, the last 30 of them or something. I don't know.
Really?
Who the hell's
then we have to end this podcast now because that's my main thing.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good, man. Yeah, but there's so many good competitors out there too. Like you said, Gary, he's just the tip of the iceberg.
Sure.
He's just so creative. He's so dynamic. He's one of the few grapplers out there that you actually see is trying to make it exciting and trying to win. He's not just trying to win at all costs. And we love to see that. We love to see people going for the finish. But at the same time, he's not reckless. You could tell all these maneuvers are calculated, and it might look risky, but he's actually drilled these things quite a few times. And congrats to him just winning at one championships today. His fight, he won by rear naked choke. Spoiler alert.
Oh, nice. Good shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Renzo Gracie fought. Maybe go watch that fight. I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
That'd be good. Yeah, I really appreciate his style, and because I don't like people that come from the sort of point matches where they're just stalling out and trying to win on position for a while or something. I did, maybe that's part of why I like the 10th Planet people, even in all their recklessness so much, is that they at least they go for it as a general rule, and that's always fun. It is hard. It's hard for me to pick out more people that I don't know directly, because there's a whole bunch of people in the jiu-jitsu world that I don't know for shit. I mean, even when people show up to the EBIs, and some of the ones with the bigger names, like when they first started, it was okay, or when they first started, but maybe EBI 5 or something, it was I knew most of them, and that was cool. But there's so many talented people coming out now. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? You know,
Yeah.
it's just I don't keep up as well. I'm not as nerded out on it as I might have been for a while. So I mostly just keep up with the folks I know and the really big names that I've spotted that I like. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody though. As I'm saying this, I'm probably forgetting 3 or 4 people that I really like, and they're sitting there. People yelling at me on the internet right now. How did you forget them? So, but we'll see. There's definitely some folks that don't compete that I wish would. Like I wish it'd be fun to see Henry Aiken still compete, or Marcelo Garcia would be awesome.
Definitely Marcelo.
Yeah, some folks like that I would really dig to see their styles out there. But
it's interesting that you talk about the points versus the non-points guys. Whenever I watch like a tournament where it's points, and like the IBJJF especially, they're the big one out there. I usually watch those tournaments more like not as a sport, but as like a study. Like especially positionally, they're making, especially the highest level, the Lucas Lepris out there. They're making very, very, very calculated micro movements. That it's very important to study if you're trying to understand jiu-jitsu, especially as an art form. But
That's true.
But when I watch the sub only guys, the no-gi guys, and it's not just no-gi, it's mainly the sub only tournament style. Because even in no-gi you get the stallers. Sure. But I watch those more for a sport, more for entertainment, and less about more so the study aspect, even though there's lots of great things that happen. But I feel like that's where I kind of differ between the two. I like both. I think I'm entertained more by the sub-only guys. It's more of a sport, more of a entertaining thing. And I find that the points tournaments are more like, especially the gi ones, there's a lot slower, but there's a lot of hidden gems in there that it takes a keen eye. It takes you looking for it to find it,
That's very true, and it's an interesting perspective on that. I could see the merit there, and that's something I think if I was getting a little deeper, I could see how that's a useful thing. I think for me, a lot of it comes down to one of the reasons why I liked MMA and jiu-jitsu in the first place is that I always wanted to see what was the closest to simulating actual combat and what would be the most useful in a real situation. And so I guess I've gravitated to what I feel like might be more of that, which to me is more like a no-gi sub-only sort of match. Although then again, I mean, realistically, you could stall out on the street too or something. Right. But the closer it gets to feeling like that to me, like feeling like we're simulating real combat, the more I enjoy it. So that's kind of where I head. But it's tough to really ever, I get all the arguments. It's hard to ever really simulate that properly anyway. But that's what I used to like about MMA too. I almost kind of miss the days when it was a little more wild and they would just throw in people of different styles with less rules and stuff and just see what the hell would happen.
Truly, that was the closest to actual fighting to, even though, again, you can never simulate two people that actually hate each other, or someone that doesn't know the other guy completely and the other person has an agenda, and they fight. Whereas, every MMA fight from the beginning of time that is organized had two people expecting the fight. That's completely different.
That's true.
But
I do wish they'd at least get rid of the gloves again. I don't know. As much as I get people don't want to get injured like that, I'm like, it would change the whole fighting. I mean, jiu-jitsu would come back so much stronger.
Right.
It's just unrealistic to let people have that.
Yeah, to be professionals at it, it's impossible, I guess.
It would be, I mean, you'd be getting broken. I can't wait for like Star Trek healing capabilities though, because once we get to that, be like, hey, whatever, you broke your hand in the fight, no problem, we'll fix it tomorrow. We'll just,
But I have a theory, Chris, that if there was no gloves, people wouldn't get to the like upper echelon of mastering movements and techniques. There would be no need to go that far when people are hitting less and they're not wanting, and they're not as brave to get hit. But with the gloves on, it allows people to kind of open up a little bit more, be a little bit more brave, try new things, master micro movements and slipping and things like that, especially in the stand-up realm. But I definitely think on the ground, you would be going further into like the mastering of the details for jiu-jitsu in an MMA fight. but you would go
Yeah.
less further away with the striking, in my opinion.
That's true, and I do love seeing good striking. I just I think it got to me at some point when I went, oh, okay, like that. To some level, it's unrealistic as far as again, like a street fighter, real combat, because you rarely would you be able to stand up for that long and not have
Right.
your hands broken and be in trouble.
Right. So with that said, how do you feel about boxing?
I think it's generally boring as hell to watch. When I was a kid, it was the Tyson days, and I will say that those I watched every time because they were quick. I mean, it was like, oh man, somebody's going to get murdered, and it was just, and he would just come out, and it was just amazing to watch. And I don't remember a whole lot of tying up and boring parts. I mean, I suppose later on when he started having more trouble, he's had some of that, but I have a hard time watching normal boxing matches. I just, as much as I know there's an art in there, and sometimes like I can watch highlights and clips here and there and go, oh, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But overall, I just look at it and I'm like, oh God, they're going to tie up again. What is this nonsense? Like, why can't you? Like, that's why, yeah, to me, once you start watching MMA or something, to me, going back to that, it's just, I don't know. I can watch a good kickboxing match, like some Muay Thai or something like that. I can still dig that, but yeah, I have a tough time with just straight boxing, and it still amazes me too. Those events are so much more expensive to watch and everything.
Yeah, but they've been around for much longer. They're much more socially accepted. This new generation of humans, of people, my generation and younger, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, I believe that most people will be more into MMA, like most people are more into boxing right now. I feel like eventually that will.
I would think so. I would think that would shift around a lot, because it just again, it's kind of hard to go back once you've had that. It seems like the Diet Coke of fighting or something. I'm like,
Right. And it becomes,
sorry, boxers.
Yeah, and it becomes a matter of teams. Like, it's just the diehard boxing fans. They just don't want to give it a chance. They don't want to accept it. They want to be team boxing, not team MMA. So I feel like they give it a lot more pushback that MMA is, brutal and all that kind of stuff. But, it is what it is. If you're into this, you're into this. If you're into that, you're into that. To each his own.
Yeah. That's that no doubt for sure right there.
Right.
Yep.
Chris, thank you so much for coming on. We went longer than expected, but I really appreciate you sharing everything that you did. And you're an honest person. You're an honest guy. And I'd love to have you back on.
Oh, well, thanks, Abe. I'd love to be back on any time. And, I have a habit of talking too much, now. But, so, yeah, and anytime, especially whenever I can make the time, I'm happy to do it. So I appreciate you having me on, and love what you guys are doing over there at Show the Art and everything. You guys always run a class act. So I appreciate the chance to chat with you and all.
Thank you, man. And once again, if you're interested in any of his gear, go to dsgear.com. Get all the hemp bags that you need, that you want. Get one for your mother, get one for your grandmother, get one for your daughter, for your uncle, just don't get one for your older brother, because they're normally, they annoy you. But everybody else in the family but the older brother, DS Gear, Datsusara, they make the best bags in the game. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for the plug. Appreciate it.